Hi, and welcome back to Ask a Pennsylvania Dutchman. My name is Chris LaRose, and this here is Douglas Maidenford, our resident Pennsylvania Dutchman. What have you to say about anything today, Doug?
No, I feel pretty good. You said before we hit the record button that you wanted to talk about something today.
Did I? I forgot what it was.
It was just a minute ago.
Oh, it's about the book I've been reading.
You've been reading a book.
Yeah, during my 2.5-hour morning routine.
Okay, what book are you reading?
I've been reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Holy moly, that's pretty highbrow stuff.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman.
Yeah, I think it was like 150 or 280 or whatever.
Something pretty long time ago.
So essentially 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, tell me.
So he was the Roman emperor, and he wrote the Meditations basically as his own journal,
Okay.
to wrap his mind around thoughts and philosophy.
Yeah.
He never really intended for it to be published, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, coincidentally, it turned into like the most revered book of stoic wisdom for the past 2,000 years.
Okay.
So I started reading that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I've found that he talks a lot about what it is like to be stoic versus, emotional.
For those people out there that don't know what stoic means, not that we think you're dumb, but just so that everyone knows, what's stoicism?
So I think most people assume it means unfeeling.
Unfeeling?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most people assume it means like unfeeling and have like a belief of it being kind of like flat and boring and
as far as emotions, showing emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Or like not being able to, basically to write pain off and not feel pain. I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
So what it really is, as far as I understand, is that you have your emotions, and a lot of people feel an emotion like anger or sadness, and then that emotion determines what action they take. Or how they respond to something.
Yeah.
But what Marcus Aurelius is saying, which he must have been a Dutchman because this makes sense to me, is that you have logic, and that is like the most human thing, is your logic.
Yes.
Because animals have emotions too,
Yeah.
but humans have logic, and that's different. So he says that your emotions must always be in service to your logic, and therefore everything you do should be done through reason, and to not be led by emotions and not be a victim of your own emotions.
Okay, so now how's that relate to the Pennsylvania Dutch?
Well, it seems brilliant to me, and therefore it has to be PA
Have
Dutch.
you seen stoicism among the Pennsylvania Dutch?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. Because I see a lot of PA Dutchmen getting pretty upset about stuff, and they'll be swearing, but then they still go and do what they need to do, so it is kind of stoic in a way. So it's not denying their feeling, because they end up going and doing the thing anyway.
I think if you go by the first definition you said about how most people in society define stoicism today, I think that our grandparents' generation were very stoic.
Oh, yeah.
You think about the Depression generation, the World War II generation, they were about as stoic as they come.
Yeah.
And especially, we both can only talk from the Pennsylvania Dutch perspective because our grandparents were all Pennsylvania Dutch, right? So that's what I grew up with. And man, were they stoic. That's for damn sure. Yeah, you didn't show emotion. You persevered, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. And you didn't let emotion get in the way of
what needed done.
What needed to be done, or what? Yeah, right. So from the first definition, I think you could, especially, I don't know if it's true for like our generation of Pennsylvania Dutch, because we didn't grow up in the same situations that they did and survived, But and we're living in a society right now that I think a lot of people wear all their emotions on their sleeves, so to speak. I don't know. But that second, when you talk about Marcus Aurelius' definition, I think he's right. He must have been Marcus. He was
Aurelius.
He was a Dutchman that made his way to Rome. I'm sure they were there for sure. We're everywhere in history.
Well, I think there's a difference between not showing your emotion.
Yeah.
And not letting the emotion rule you. Because I feel like a lot of people hide their emotions, but it still determines what they do next. Whereas I think a Stoic isn't hiding their emotions. I think they're probably analyzing them and then choosing to proceed through logic. So it's not like they're ever denying their emotions the way somebody who would be hiding their emotions. So I think they're accepting their emotions and just kind of viewing them as like a fleeting thing to influence a decision but to not make it for you.
And isn't that the underlying way of agriculture? You think of like farmers, and there's so many variables in farming. You know, whether it's the weather, whether it's the soil, whether it's the seeds that you buy maybe aren't that great, or if you're raising animals, you know, not every animal is going to grow up to be big and large and strong and produce the most amount of eggs and the most amount of meat. And you have to be able to be flexible with the variables that are thrown at you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And isn't that, I think that's the Pennsylvania Dutch as well. Look, we have been
would make them super
somehow, through the grace of whatever being you believe in, we've been able to maintain this language and this culture for 300 years against all odds. Think about it. Everything has pushed against us in that sense. We had, you know, kids had to go to school. They had to learn it. They learned English, not in Pennsylvania Dutch.
Or it was literally beaten out of them in some school. Absolutely. We survived 2 world wars where we were fighting an enemy that the rest of the world looked at us as being, you know, we spoke part of them.
Yeah, right, even though we weren't, right? And somehow, now modern technology and all these things, and as the progression of the post-World War II generation and everything in the world got faster and all that, and somehow
we're still here.
Because tonight we're going to be going to Copley, Pennsylvania to perform at a Groundhog Lodge meeting 300 years after our ancestors first came here, and there's going to be singing in our language, there's going to be our food, there's going to be jokes in our language, and yet we've persisted. And we had to be able to deal with all the emotions that our previous generations had to deal with in order to move forward.
Well, I think we just
that's pretty deep.
Absolutely determined that PA Dutch are Stoic because from what I'm understanding is you have to be accepting of what the reality is in order to not be ruled by it. Like only when you refuse to accept a negative thing that happened to you does your emotion stay stuck on it and you don't move through it and
if that's the case, if our forefathers and foremothers would have been that way, we wouldn't be sitting here making these silly videos.
No. So they had to have accepted a drought, and they had to accept 50% crop losses, and they had to accept, you know,
the fact that not everybody was speaking the language anymore and things were changing. However, oh, buddy, look how deep this went.
But even with the acceptance of the things falling apart, they still, through their logic, chose to stay the course.
Yes.
And stay steady.
Yes.
Which I think is exactly what the Marcus Aurelius was talking about. So I think if Marcus Aurelius was not a PA Dutchman, I think he would have loved us.
I agree.
Oh, he would have loved us. We would have had him playing Hasenpfeffer.
Hey, we don't know.
Eating red beet eggs.
There might have been a hex sign on the Colosseum, and we just don't know.
Yeah, I bet you there probably was. Yep.
You got a deep one today, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism. You tune in to just hear us talk about Scrapple and shoe fly pie. We're way deeper than that, buddy.
Yeah, it ain't just potty humor.
That's fun, though.
That is.
Thank you for this enlightening conversation today.
Oh, this is fun stuff.
Rose.
I wonder how many people are actually going to watch
think
this.
about. Well, let's see how many people are still watching.
Yeah.
They might have heard you say Stoicism and closed it on right then and there.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Let us know what you think. Once again, were we right? We think we were.
Yeah.
Or do you disagree? And if you disagree, let us know.
All right. Well, you heard it from the Dutchman. Marcus Aurelius was a PA Dutchman.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yep.
And until next time, Mox Gut.
Mox Gut. How do you say Mox Gut in Latin? Because that would be Marcus Aurelius would have spoke Latin.
Moxus Gutus.
Moxus Gutus.
Moxus
Gutus. And then thumbs up because it's like a gladiatorial game. So
yeah, or don't they do? It's like this. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Mox Gut.
Mox Gut.
you have a question, why you have to email us at info@padutch101.com.